Simple interest, I equals PRT. You have to be a little bit careful on this. You have to make sure that your R is an annual interest rate. And then if you're working with an annual interest rate, you have to make sure that your time is in years. All of our problems will kind of be set up for us like this, but you would have to check this if you are doing an actual problem with it. Make sure you use your calculator for these calculations. Otherwise, they can get kind of icky. In April, Marshall Wardell was charged an interest fee of $872 on an unpaid credit card balance of $545. Find the annual interest rate on this card. So his interest fee was this. So that's his I, his interest. And his $545 that was on his card, that's the amount he started with. That would be the P, the principal. So we sub in $872 for I. Principal was $545. The rate we don't know, and our time was 1 year. Now timesing by 1 does not change the value of this expression at all, so we can just even rewrite that. You probably wouldn't rewrite it, but you can think of it without the 1, because timesing by 1 doesn't really change it. So now to find the interest rate, you divide both sides by 545. So your R as a decimal, you'd punch that into your calculator and you come up with 0.016, which would be 1.6% as a decimal. Probably not likely. A credit card's not going to have a 1.6 annual percent interest fee, but that's what the problem is. Clarissa purchased a municipal bond for $1,000. So that $1,000, that's the principal. That's the amount she invested. Her interest rate was 6.4%. That's her R. Actually, we'd need to change that to a decimal, so it'd be 0.064. Now it says, how much must she deposit into an account that earns 8%, so a different account, so that the interest she earned from each account after 1 year is the same? So what we need to do is, first off, we need to talk about that with two accounts, the 6.4% account and the 8% account. So the first thing we have to do is figure out what was the interest off of the first account. So we'll take our principal and times by our interest rate. That's a 4. Sorry, my 4s are bad. And times 1 for 1 year. This should read 1,000 times 0.064 times 1. So after 1 year, the interest in this account will be, punch that into your calculator, and you get $64. So she wants to know how much money do I need to start with? What's my principal have to be to get my interest to be $64? So again, let's set up our equation. I equals PRT. Again, our time is 1 year. We know our interest rate is 8% or 0.08. And we're solving for P. We want our amount of interest to be the same as the other account. So I'm going to set that to be 64. Again, timesing by 1 doesn't change this, so you can think of it as 64 equals P times 0.08. How do I solve for P? I divide both sides by 0.08. And I get P equals 800. I would have to start with an 800 in the principal. Distance equals rate times time is another common equation, you want to make sure, the tricky part on this is that your rates and your times have to be the same unit. So like if you're using miles per hour, you have to make sure that your times are in hours, not in minutes. Otherwise, if you're using minutes, your rate would come out in miles per minute. I'll show you what I mean. Susie's running a marathon. She ran the marathon in 4 hours, 52 minutes. A marathon is 26.2 miles. How fast did she run in miles per hour? So they're telling us they want miles per hour. So my equation, distance equals rate times time. What do I know? I know 26.2, that's my distance. I don't know my rate, that's what I want. How fast did I run? That's my rate. Now I need my time. Let's go up here and think about this one a little bit. If we have 4 hours, 52 minutes. 52 minutes into hours, that would be 4 hours and 52 sixtieths of an hour. 52 minutes out of 60 minutes in an hour. So to reduce that, that would be, divide both top and bottom by 4, you'd get 13 fifteenths. 4 and 13 fifteenths. And I would even probably go so far as to change that to a decimal to make my calculator work a little bit easier. 13 fifteenths is 0.866666 repeating. So that's my time in hours is 4.86666 repeating. I rounded to that. So now I want to solve for r. So to undo timesing by 4.8666666, I'm going to divide by 4.8666666. So r is equal to 5.38 miles per hour. That's her rate. Timmy took a trip to the cities. This is the distance. This is his rate. Distance equals rate times time. So his distance was 137 miles. His rate was 64 miles per hour. My time's going to come out in hours now since I'm talking miles per hour. I'm going to divide both sides by 64. On a calculator, 137 divided by 64, 2.14 hours.